Rachel. All right, you guys. My name is Tyra Allen. I'm a senior majoring in digital communication, and I'm also a student worker at the University Career Center. And today we have our College of Business Assistant Director of Experiential Learning and Student Internship Coordinator, Erika Clark. We also have our Associate Vice President of Technology Compliance and Community Engagement for the University Technology Solutions and Internship Supervisor, Dr. Vanessa Keenan, and our fellow Roadrunner, Tony Okiria, who has completed an internship at Federal Aviation Administration as an air traffic services intern. And together we're going to explore how he can pursue getting a 4-credit internship in the upcoming semester. So without further ado, I'd like to allow my fellow guardians to introduce themselves. You guys are more than welcome to either follow along by asking questions in the chat box or wait for the Q&A portion that'll be halfway through our session. So if Erika Clark would like to introduce herself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Tyra. Like Tyra mentioned, I am Erika Clark, and I'm Assistant Director of Experiential Learning for the College of Business. And part of that umbrella of experiential learning, we have 4 pillars of engagement that we focus on, and that's global and intercultural fluency, research and innovation, professional development and leadership, and service and community learning. Under that professional development and leadership, we have internships, right? That's why we're here. And I actually oversee the academic credit internship process for the College of Business. And I'm super happy to be here with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vanessa?
Sure. Hi, I'm Vanessa Keenan. And basically, I'm in University Technology Solutions. And if you know anything about UTS, we're the IT people that provide all IT for you guys on campus. So we have some fantastic opportunities for all majors. A lot of times people think just technology and they're like, oh, gee whiz. We have over 130 employees in the department, 5 senior level executives, as well as about 20 directors who are directing projects all over between our downtown campus, the different campuses, and all of these people work with interns. So in my case, we're looking for interns of all majors, and I've worked with interns at UTSA as an internship coordinator for over 10 years now. The funny story I like to tell is my first year working with interns here at UTSA, I had an intern from UTSA, I had one from Trinity University, and I had one from University of Incarnate Word, all at one time. And when we meet together for the project we worked on, we try to find a neutral place so the students wouldn't have to worry about parking. I remember it was just the funniest thing in the world. So the nice thing about the internships that we have available now, and this worked great because when all the COVID stuff happened, we had an intern and we had 2 student workers. We were so easy for us to just roll it all over. So all the internships we're working with students, because we're all working away off campus, those are online. And so we've had some really successful opportunities for interns. Also, as a part of that, it has been real successful, and it's been so successful even with the volunteers who've come in and said, hey, we'd like to volunteer in your department, and usually we'll make them a POI, give them something to do. It was so successful that our vice president asked me to set up a service area for us for internships and to be able to do some ambassador programs, because some students do not have an internship in their program, but they need to get that hands-on experience. The other nice things about the folks who have been interning with us, a lot of them have had opportunities to either put together presentations, complete presentations, or to also get published. So the intern we have working with us this fall, when she leaves us, she'll have 2 publications. And that's pretty good because it's very, very hard to get undergraduate publications. So that's a big deal for the students who are coming in to work with us. The program is called Career Fuel Ambassadors and Interns. It's in Handshake. We put everything through Handshake, and we kept it so simple. So anybody who's interested can apply for either the internship or they can apply for the Career Fuel Ambassadors. There's a flyer, and Perla and Danielle, who are also here online, work with me with this program. They are going to put some flyers in the chat so that way you can see how to go in and apply for those programs. It's very easy. And the good thing is you get to participate and serve as a part and give some input as to what kind of technology we have here on campus. You give some feedback on that, on the things that we have, and you also get a chance to help us to work and test some of the newer technology we're looking to bring on campus. So sign up, tell your friends. It's a great opportunity.
Thank you so much. And Tony?
Thank you, Tara. Hi, everyone. My name is Tony Okiria, and I am a junior studying information systems and cybersecurity as a dual major. This past summer, I had the opportunity to intern at the Federal Aviation Administration as an air traffic services intern. Thank you.
Awesome. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with our first question, which will be directed towards Erika. And I think all the students here would like to know, how can we receive course credit for an internship?
I get that question all the time. That's a great question. The first thing I would tell students to do, and I would say every college is different, right? So if you have a representative in your college within your the different departments, definitely go and talk to them and ask them, hey, what internships are out there. I know for the College of Business, we have a Center for Student Professional Development, where we have an actual person who is dedicated to help students find their internships. For academic credit, your first stop really should be your academic advisor. You want to go, I tell students all the time, your academic advisor is your BFF. They are your best friend. You want to latch on to them like there's nobody's business, peanut butter and jelly, as I call it, through your, as you navigate through your time on campus, right? So go meet with your academic advisor, first step. See if you actually have room to actually take that course, right? And again, every major is different. So meeting with them, after you met with them and you realize, okay, I can't do this, I would say if you don't already have an internship lined up, get one, right? Because you don't want to register for a course and you don't have an internship. That is like a big, don't do it. People will come to me and be like, yeah, I'm registered for this class. Now you need to find me an internship. And I'm going, no, 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 no. That's not how it works. You need to go find your internship and then register for that class. One of the biggest caveats too is I know for the College of Business, and I'm not sure across campus, but if you're going to do an academic credit internship, it has to be in your field. So if you're a marketing major, it has to be a marketing internship. Okay. I could keep going on about it, but those are the two big things: BFF, academic advisor, having an internship that's in the field. Okay.
And just a quick follow-up question. Is there like a set number, or can you do like multiple internships for credit?
You can, and again, that it varies, right? So yes, you can. I know for business you can, but it has to be a different role, a different company, right?
Okay, thank you. And the next question will be for Tony. I wanted to know, what was the application process like for you getting your internship?
That's a great question, Tara. So the application process varies depending on each and every intern, of course. Some may apply on the company website and others may use other platforms such as LinkedIn or Handshake. But for me personally, I know someone who currently works at the FAA and he figured that I'd be interested, and I was. So what I did was I just simply submitted my resume, and from there, I got an offer in no time.
Wow, that's really cool. So networking really helped you out on that one.
Absolutely.
That's been the same story for me with some of my internships. I hear ya. I also wanted to know, were you aware that you could get credit, like academic credit for your internship, or did you understand the process on how to apply for academic credit?
I actually was, matter of fact, aware that I could get credit from an internship. However, because I was trying to get settled in with the onboarding process and settling in with my supervisor, I was unable to meet the deadline because times were a little hectic, especially with COVID peaking at a high rate at that time. But also was aware of the process thanks to my academic advisor. Again, he was able to guide me and give me the resources and material that I needed to submit my application.
Wow, yeah, that's definitely understandable. And Vanessa, I'm curious to know, what are some expectations that you have for student interns in your program?
Oh, it's been an amazing program. And what I have found is most of the students will come in and they all have different requirements. And I think, who was it? Erica said it, depending on departments. Like we have in our department, we are building out a SOC right now. So that's one, it's the Security Operations Center. So we've got that going on. And that's a big project. So as a part of that, we've had students to come in, we've had interns to come in and work in the cybersecurity area of our department. So remember, that's a part of IT as well. So when I had heard Tony said that, I was like, oh, interesting. We have one already signed up for the spring as well to come in. We've had communications, we've had digital interns, we've had English interns. We have somebody, a question came in this morning on sociology, and I was like, oh yeah, we can do that. I can think of 2 different areas with some of the things we're doing with team leadership with our group, but also I work with diversity and inclusiveness. So that also surrounds. So it's a matter of thinking outside of the box. We have so many divisions. There's so many opportunities. And I figured, I said, somebody's going to ask me, what about architecture? And I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, we have big projects going on. We have that big data center that's being built downtown. We have a person who works with me who does the access management and stuff like that. That person is a big part in that, as well as our deputy CIO. So there's so many different areas that people will get a chance to work on. And one of the things we really want to task them to do is to look at the projects they're working on. How can we write about it, whether it's a white paper or whether it's a publication? So those are the type of things that we are doing as a part of this program.
Wow, that's really exciting. I hope you guys go ahead and apply. So Erica, I wanted to know, is it possible to receive academic credit for an internship and also get paid for the internship?
Absolutely. Yes. You can. Matter of fact, in the College of Business, I'm so sorry, guys. If you can hear that noise, I'm going to try to, they're building a deck outside. So that's a cool thing, but it's super loud. Um, for, hold on a minute. Okay, they stopped. Yes, definitely. In the College of Business, we definitely want, our students, we want them all to get paid, right? There are a few affiliation agreements that we have with some companies on where it can be unpaid. And then also nonprofits can be unpaid. But to answer that question, yes, you can have an academic credit internship and get paid for it.
Wow, sounds like a win-win situation. And so, Tony, I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit more about your overall experience at your internship.
Sure. So my overall experience at the FAA was quite remarkable and eye-opening, to be honest with you. I got to learn more and dive deep into what goes on in the aviation and aerospace industry. And I also thought it was interesting to see what goes on behind the scenes that you typically wouldn't see as a passenger, because typically you're just worried about checking your bags in, onboarding your flight, and hopefully making it to your destination on time and, of course, safely. But there's a system and process for every single thing. And in order to make sure that the national airspace system is safe and efficient, that includes commercial planes and private planes, military jets, helicopters, and also the new thing of unmanned aircraft systems, such as drones that people are flying more often nowadays, such as hobbyists, and also rocket launches that other organizations are taking part in, such as NASA and SpaceX. So overall, it was awesome really getting to see what goes on in that area and also what it means to work in a large organization.
That's so cool. Sounds like you had a really awesome experience. And Vanessa, I'm curious to know, what are some ways that a student can stand out to their internship supervisor?
Oh, here's a good one. Take on some additional tasks. Like, here's a good example. I have a young lady right now who's working with us, and she put together, and one of the things I always tell all the students who work with us, including Perla, who's here, and Danielle will tell you, and they work with us in our division. Make sure that you're signing off on the work. I always tell them, I said, I'm already there at the peak of my career. So I want you guys to get credit for some of these things. So make sure you're getting your name on different things. So whether it's presentations that they're doing, whether it's how shall I say, publications, I'm always telling them, do that, do the work, step up, take on some additional things. The young lady who's working with us as an intern right now, she comes in Wednesdays and Thursdays. So she interns as a part of this project. So as a part of that, we had another division that said, hey, we really need somebody. I'm not sure if we can wait till the spring, because with all the changes and reorganizations we've had, we're down a couple of employees. So what I did is I looked at the work she was doing. I was like, okay, this is going to be hard. It's going to put me behind on some of the other things I want to do, but let's loan this person out on Thursdays. So she went out and she's working with me on Wednesdays, but on Thursdays, I've loaned her out to another division within UTS. And so she was a little bit nervous about it at first. And so after the first day, she was like, oh my goodness gracious, this is so exciting, the things I'm doing. So don't be afraid to take on additional things. I knew that she would love it because it's working with websites. She's a digital intern, but she was still a little bit, apprehensive. I said, you're going to love working with these people. You'll learn a lot. So now she's building her skill set and she's going to be able to come out of this having some additional skills on website building, which in this day and age is just amazing. So step out, don't be afraid.
Wow, that's really great advice. Thank you. And to Erica, I wanted to know who decides if the student receives credit for their internship. Is it the university or is it the employer?
It is definitely the university. And to go a little bit further, it depends on your department, and it depends on who is actually overseeing that particular internship. So I know like for our cyber, our department chair for cyber, Dr. Nicole Beebe, she wants to see every aspect of it. She wants to know where you go, which I love it. Like I am like obsessed with that because she knows where her students are going, if they're actually getting the benefit of that internship. Because, and I want to steer off just a second on that. Just because they have internship in the title sometimes does not mean that it's a true internship and you're actually being taught and you're actually having projects and you have someone that's supervising you and showing you and guiding you. So that's one of the things that I really do love about how Dr. Nicole Beebe runs her program is she wants to see, okay, you have this employer, you have this opportunity, let's make sure it's going to align with what we're looking for from our division. So it's definitely the school and the department, not the employer.
Awesome. And I see we have a question coming in regards to where can students go to find internship requirements for their major or their department? Do you think you can answer that one, Erica?
I can answer it from College of Business standpoint. If you're College of Business, we do have an academic credit internship page, landing page. It's on the College of Business website under current students, experiential learning, and you'll see it's on there. There's a whole guide on there, and then it'll have where you can click and you can see it's broken down by each department, who your FIC is, which is your faculty internship coordinator. It has all of their contact information, it has prerequisites. So it's broken down by each department. So but that's College of Business. I'm sure each college has a process. I would definitely start with your department chair's office, like that office, and ask. So whatever your major is, definitely go to your department chair or office and just ask them, get curious. That's the only way that you're going to find out that information. It's just asking.
I can add on to that too, because I'm working with so many students across different divisions.
Perfect.
And Dr. Beebe, you're exactly correct. We had one of her interns, I do believe it was in the spring sometime, that worked in our cybersecurity area and did an amazing job. And one of the things I can tell you is definitely checking with your advisor as well. A lot of the advisors will know the right person to send you to, what type of internship you have in your program. And so that advisor can tell you, yes, there's an internship in here. Here's the qualifications. Sometimes there's different qualifications depending upon the department as to what type of hours you have to do and the whole works. So they will direct you to the right person, because for us, as we started to set up this program, I started off with the people I had worked with in the past and reached out to them first and said, hey, this is what we're doing and how this is going along and the whole works. And those people it was like a rolling effect. They were forwarding, oh, we've worked with Dr. Keenan before. This is amazing. Our interns have done amazing stuff over there. Get the word out. So that's a good way to do that. Definitely start with your advisors, check with your department chairs. The advisors can definitely give you some good feedback as to what that program is and what it encompasses, because every division, I do believe Erika said that as well, the amount of hours I noticed as I work with different students are different along the way. I had one student who had to put together, I think, about 300 hours in his internship. I was like, wow. it was a very large one. But here's the neat thing. Throughout the semester, he worked with us. He was there constantly. Then when we opened the DEX lab, we had media from I think we had every network except for one, including Telemundo. I mean, it was amazing. Spectrum came, and I stepped back once again and let the students. So that intern had me laughing so hard because he was sending all of these links because he was on all these news stations out to his mom in Houston. He was like, oh my goodness gracious, my mom's sharing them with all of her friends. Oh, look, my son's on TV in San Antonio. And then we had some of our Spanish speaking students to come in because I don't speak Spanish to do the Telemundo side of it. So once again, getting the students involved, getting that information on your CV. And Perla will tell you, I've always, and Danielle as well, I'm always like, build your CV. You're building up stuff. So that was very, very helpful for that student when he's going out to get a job now, because on his CV, here I am, I'm promoting myself or promoting UTSA. And this was a digital experience. It was virtual reality. And so that's what brought people in when we opened that lab. And I don't know if you've been down there to that lab in the AET building, but it's amazing. When it was open, all the news media came in. And so what a great opportunity for those students. There was no way I could talk to every news station there. So once I got the one student in there, I was like, okay, let's just let the students do this. If they need me, I'll come back and I'll give feedback too, but let the students do it.
That's really cool. Now that we've talked about some of the requirements and processes that students have to meet, I wanted to focus on the supervisor's role. And I wanted to know, what kind of feedback would you, Vanessa, give to your interns, and how often would you give that feedback to them? Would it be like a formal or informal evaluation? Would it be during the middle of their internship, or would it be towards the end?
I think constantly, and it's real interesting because I've had many different interns along the way. So since we're virtual now, it's a little bit different than in the office where they had a space, and sometimes they would come in. A part of my job, I traveled a lot for my job. And so they would come in on some days and not have an office. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be gone this week. You can use my office the whole week. Somebody will let you in, use my office, or use our communications small conference room. There was always a space to put those interns in. So during the course of that time, we're constantly communicating. And normally at the beginning, one of the big questions I ask is, what would you like your career to be like? What do you want to get out of this internship? That is so important. We're working with a couple of people right now that we're asking that question. Okay, let me know what you want to get out of the internship, because then that lets me know where to place you, what type of projects to put you on right now. And so that's a big part of it. And then, like the student I mentioned that's interning with us right now, the feedback, giving her the feedback on the work she's doing. She's giving me feedback on the people that she's working with as well. And just looking at their career. The last intern I had in the spring, and that was right in the middle of COVID. So it was just crazy, but we were able to spend a lot of time together virtually. He would check in with me, and it's like, oh, this is what's going on in my life, and this is what's going on with the job. And so you're giving that feedback. I always tell people to prepare for this, because it's always good for me to keep a record of those interns, because they also come back, the interns and the student workers, they come back to you for evaluations. So that's the next thing. And so it depends. I did an evaluation, and I've had to block time on my calendar for this. I did an evaluation for an intern. It was the longest evaluation I've ever done. It took 45 minutes. I could not believe it. So once I realized that, I was like, oh, I need to block a certain amount of time, because you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss the deadlines. And for some of these people, some of them like that are going to work in school districts, especially, I was shocked at the calls as they came in, and people were trying to hire people. It was competitive. And so they're trying to get people in. So there's a lot involved in it, but it's exciting work. And it's so good to see students get jobs. I mean, I had a student who was in one of the positions that Perla and Danielle is in right now, who was hired by a school district, and she just didn't think she was going to get a job with all this stuff going on. I was like, I've got emails coming in here left and right. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And when she got her first offer, she wound up with like 2 or 3. I cried personally. It was very, very, I cried personally. And that student started off with us as a volunteer. She started off as a volunteer intern, and then worked with us, came on and worked with us as a student worker. So it's a very emotional, but it's exciting work. I have truly enjoyed it.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I also wanted to get a student's perspective on how their evaluations have gone. So Tony, I was curious, were you nervous? Was it positive feedback? How often did you meet with your supervisor? And did you guys maybe discuss like goals or expectations for your internship?
Sure, and that's a great question. So the thing was, I had two supervisors during my time at my internship. My first and original supervisor, I got to meet with her at least twice a week regarding my goals and expectations. And it was great to touch base on this to see areas that I could work on and things that I needed to try and be better at. And towards the end of my internship experience, she actually ended up retiring, which leads me to my second advisor. So he was trying to get settled in, so I didn't really get to communicate with him as much. So we only got to touch base on that about once every other week. So, but otherwise, it was very transparent, and we were able to see eye to eye and seeing what I needed to do and the expectations for me during my internship experience.
That's really good. And I'm also curious to know, Erica, how are credit internships typically graded?
That's a great question. And just like with a lot of what I've been saying, it really depends on um, the the department and the requirements and the faculty. So, you may be in marketing and it may be, create a portfolio of work that you've finished, right? And then you may have finance who has you 5-page paper over something. So it's totally different with each major.
Got it. And Vanessa, what are some tips that you would have for students who want to establish an open and effective communication with their internship supervisor?
Well, especially since so much is not face to face right now, I would definitely say to the interns, have a check-in time. That's one of the things I'm doing with my interns right now and all the staff that I work with. We have a set scheduled check-in time. Perla and Danielle and I do a check-in. So we have a check-in time. I usually try to do it twice a day, but at least once a day, unless I'm away at a conference, which everything is online now, or I'm in meetings, and I'm in a lot of meetings, as they will tell you. So we usually though try to check in at least once a day. With the interns, I have actually boosted a time. So my intern comes in for 5 hours on Wednesday and 5 hours on Thursday. So on Wednesday, we have blocked a full amount of time there where we go over all the projects, the things that she's working on. If she's working with things, sometimes she'll work with projects with Danielle and Perla as well to support the efforts that they're doing. And so we talk about those things where we're being successful. And then I will quite often have a separate meeting with her as well. Like today we met because this is Wednesday, so we hit our time in our regular meeting, but I also scheduled an additional meeting for the project she's working on with me. Then tomorrow, when she's working in the other area, she'll do the same thing with that group. So those things are very, very helpful to them. And also, I think on Erica was saying on the grading, I have found, and you're exactly correct, it's very, very different. I've had some departments that will ask me, you have to do a checkoff sheet. So you're checking off on time. So that intern gives me a time sheet to check off. That's all digital now through Adobe. So that works out real, real well. But in addition to that, sometimes the department will ask for a midterm update, and then sometimes they'll ask for an update at the end. And the ending evaluation is pretty extensive. In some cases, they will actually ask, what grade would you give this particular person? And some of them will not. They'll just based on your evaluation and what the things that you have. That's why I tell all the interns, like in the case of the young lady who's working with me now, she will have so much to be able to put together in her portfolio to say, hey, this is what I did. This is the digital project I worked on. So that's how that works. Some will literally ask you what grade you think they should get, and others will not. They'll just do it based on what you put in there as the information.
That's really great advice. And my next question is to Erica, which is, how long does it take to get an internship approved for credit? And how soon should a student request for that?
Great. So we actually just went to a new process, and it's working a lot smoother. Before everything was paper, and it was go get, you have this big packet, and you have to go. Tommy's like, yeah, you have to go to your advisor, get them to sign off on it. Take the same packet to the employer, get them to sign off on it. And so depending on if everybody signed in the right way, it could be a week, because ultimately it would go back to the assistant dean of undergraduate studies or the assistant dean of graduate studies, and they would do the final approval. So now it's all streamlined. So it is through a DocuSign process where it automatically, once the student submits their application, goes to the advisor, then it automatically routes over. So we are seeing that it's cutting down time. I like to say give it 3 weeks. If it comes back before then, yay. If not, you have a solid 3 weeks. When is the best time to start applying for it? Right now, if you know that you want to apply for an academic credit internship for the spring, right now, go ahead. It's never too early to start that process. But again, I am going to go back to, before you even start your application process, you got to make sure that you have room to take that class and you actually have an internship. So going back to the very, very first questions that Tyra brought up, if you don't have those two already set, then filling out that form, you want to put a pause on it. And there are so many resources out there on Handshake, even within, like Ms. Vanessa was saying, they have a beautiful program. So definitely take advantage of all the opportunities right now, start now. And then that way, whenever it comes time for the spring or summer, I'm not sure if that's one of the questions I may be answering in advance, but you definitely can do an academic credit internship fall, spring, summer, winter. So yeah, I know that was a lot, but hopefully that answered the question.
Yes, and Rachel had also put in the chat that some departments have an approved list of sites from their website. I know that's actually how I secured my internship for the spring, because I had tried to go through the process of seeing if I could get an internship that wasn't on the list approved, and it didn't get approved. And so it was kind of like, oh, so better to just, stick to the ones that are on the list if you just really want to get the credit. And then my next question would be to Vanessa, which would be, what does the closeout process look like for your internships since you're the supervisor? Do you, aside from give final evaluations, I think you had also touched on referrals, but is that based on if a student requests it, or is that something you offer automatically? What exactly does that look like?
That's a great question, because I usually get two things. Some students will literally ask, okay, can I get an evaluation from you? And I will give us a standard evaluation, and it's good. I say standard, the same information, but basically I'm evaluating that particular person, a letter. So a letter of evaluation. So a letter of recommendation, more or less. And I do it as a student. They were a student worker. They worked here. They worked as an intern with me. And so I outline all the different things that they've done in that particular area. Others will not reach out until maybe later as they're starting to go for jobs, but they'll ask ahead of time. And I think that's important. That's something we should discuss. It's always important for you guys, as I tell students, this is so important. Don't put a person's name on a list without letting them know. Make sure to say, hey, Dr. Keenan, or hey, Ms. Clark, we need can I get a recommendation from you? Always ask, so that way you don't get a surprise thing. It's like, oh, John said this to me, but John didn't complete his hours, or he didn't show up on time. And I will tell you, I've never had that with an intern. I've had outstanding interns. They've been great. And I think that's a part of setting the standards at the beginning. And if you set the standards at the beginning, hey, this is what we need. We need your reliability. I can tell you the intern I have now, and the last one we had to, just amazing. We had a project that had a timeline. She went beyond the call of duty. And I was like, make sure those extra hours you work this week, make sure when you get toward the end that maybe you can finish earlier so on your hours, because she put in hours. She worked with me until almost 7 one night to make sure that we had something set for a deadline that was going to a conference and actually a global conference that's going on right now. And it's out there. And her name is on there, that she was a part of that. Her name's on there. Perla's name's on there. Danielle's name is on there. So people around the world, I saw people speaking in French earlier this week, are getting a chance to see that. So to me, that's exciting. And that's a part of the whole process of getting those students as much exposure as possible.
That's really great. And to close out the moderated portion of the session, I would like to give the final question to Tony. which is after you completed your experience, I wanted to know if you took some time out to reflect on some of the experiences that you were able to have through that opportunity. And if so, what were some of your main takeaways from that reflection from your internship?
Man, I say there's a lot actually, but I'll give you guys three. So the first one would be feedback. I say just as Miss Vanessa was talking about, having feedback so that interns can improve and reflect on what they've done during their time at that company or organization. I'd say take that feedback or what people how people evaluate on and see the weaknesses and strengths that you may not be aware of and try to improve on those areas. For example, during my internship experience at the FAA, we had a software program that allowed people that we worked with, such as our supervisors or team members or other interns, matter of fact, go and receive an email link. And from there, they were able to complete a survey that evaluated our performance. So this was a great way for me to, ask my supervisors or any other interns that I worked on projects with, such as my cohort project, and see what they thought of me and how I can improve the areas that I'm not strong at. And as a team lead, this was a great way for me to figure out how I can be not only a better teammate, but a better leader in the business world. So I'd say feedback is the first one. The second one is be open to career lattice. That's something our COO actually made a point about. And life is not a straight line. And I'm sure many of us realize that at this point. So, there's twists and turns. You might hit a roadblock, then have to turn around and go back onto a different road. But always be open to the career opportunities or professional opportunities that come your way and try and discover and see where it takes you because you never know what could happen. And the third one is ask questions. I cannot stress this enough because even for myself, I struggle with asking questions because I think it's like a little ridiculous or dumb, but I say just ask questions anyway because you never know what the answer would be. And it'd be better to know the answer than not to and just wonder what that could possibly turn out. So I say ask questions. Don't be afraid to. It might seem ridiculous or dumb, but just go for it because at the end of the day, it could lead you to somewhere better. So those are my main takeaways at my internship at the FAA.
And Tyra, just to add on to that, and I think that was fantastic. There were two things when you were asking me about, kind of like the grading internal part of it. One of the things we are setting up for this new program that we're looking at for the ambassadors is a rubric. So there's a grading rubric for that with it that's internally for us. But in addition to that, one of the things I like to do in the course I teach is journaling with students. So it goes back to exactly what Tony said. Reflecting, it gives you a chance, a reflective journal to reflect on what it is you're doing. So as a part of that program, we're also doing a reflective journal. They'll have a Blackboard shell where they'll log into, put their reflections, put their experiences in that particular place. So we're building it so they can really think about it because the whole idea, this is a part of the Career Field program. The whole idea is for these students to start getting prepared to go out in the real workplace. So that way they're comfortable with it, whether it's making presentations. And I'm sure somewhere along the way, they'll have those opportunities as well, because we have taken students as well as a part of my Gates Foundation grant to national conferences to present. And it's a great opportunity for those students to have a chance and be able to do that. So hopefully when the COVID stuff settles down, we'll be able to do that once again. So those are just two additional things. And he's right on board. Just that reflecting on what you're doing and how I can do things better, I think is a really big help.
Yeah, I actually remember my very first time doing an internship. My internship supervisor, it was required every week we had to journal. And that was very helpful because the weeks go by so fast and then you say, what did I do? And yeah, it definitely helps with reflection. It looks like we have a question in our chat. And actually we have two. The first one is for Tony. And it's, what was the most challenging thing you encountered during your internship?
That's a great question. And I'd say the most challenging was adapting to the new COVID environment. Everything was expected to be taken in place in a physical environment. So I'd say trying to take everything that I'm trying to learn and do and make it virtual. So I'd say adapting and making sure that I'm still able to communicate with everybody across the agency and making sure that I'm able to complete my tasks in an orderly fashion. So I think that was the most challenging part, just adjusting to the new environment.
Definitely. There's no manual for this right now. It looks like our next question comes from Hannah, and I think Vanessa might be able to answer this one. It says, in general, what stands out on a resume? I'm a freshman and I'm wondering what I should aim to add on.
That's a good one and a tough one. It depends on what your experiences have been. So anything you've done, and I always tell students, don't just focus on the work. Let's say, oh, you may look at something and say, oh, the only place I've worked is at Whataburger. That's the only experience I've had. No, you're working as a part of a team. Think about that team portion of it. You're working as a part of a leader. So put that information down there, how you've worked as a part of a team, how you've been a part of leading and the whole work. So all of that, when we're looking for folks, and a lot of people are looking for folks for internships, we're looking for what you bring, your innovation, how you can help out along the way. You're going to bring things to the table. Perla, I can tell you, and Danielle, who are both students, have brought things to the table that we would never think of. And as we were putting this program together, I said to my boss, we can't put this program together without true student input and true student involvement. There's a lot of things we've done over the years. And as a part of this department and as a part of some of the volunteers and internships I've put together, but nothing has helped more than having Danielle, Perla, and that intern that's working with us this semester to put that all together. The other thing, and just to kid on what Tony said, which I thought was excellent, sometimes you have to pivot. My person I had in the spring just never would have even imagined. He was coming into the office and working with us. And so all of this stuff happened. But the good thing for him is he got experience working with our deputy CIO. He had experience working with the chief information security officer. Those are people in very high levels at the university. So he got to work with them even more so because now we went to virtual, right? Before it was like, okay, how am I going to get this person to respond to my emails? How am I going to get this person to do here? Then all of a sudden, where are we? We're on Teams and we're on Zoom and there we are. So the funny part about that is while we're talking right now, the project that he was assigned to, which is to redo, the people who work for UTSA know once a year, we have to go through these compliance training, right? It's very long last year. So we had to redo, our compliance video was so old and out of date. That person's job was to get all of these people together to get that compliance video updated, which is not the easiest thing in the world. So while we're talking here, I just saw an email come in from the compliance office that said, oh, here's the finalized video. I mean, it had to go out to a company. We had to add things together. That student was all a part of that. I mean, it had to hit UT system compliance. I mean, so just imagine, he got a chance to see, just like Tony said, all the behind the scenes stuff that happens to taking us to a point of putting together a compliance video that everybody in this university will take. And that's something he'll get to put on his resume as well.
That's amazing. And I think a follow-up question from Italia was basically kind of along similar lines. Does the UTS Ambassador and Intern Program provide any opportunities for freshmen? And do you look for students with more education or academic credits in your application process?
It is open to everyone. And the good thing is for students, for freshmen, that's going to be better for the freshman student coming in because they won't be at a point to be able to take an internship yet. So it's a good opportunity. And we're looking at all the stuff is in there that tells you a little bit about that program. So we expect we'll get a couple of freshmen in that program. And the program, the way it's designed, it's a very few hours, but it also opens you up to the opportunity for paid student jobs within our division. So it's sort of like a grow your own opportunity for us to work with those students. So we expect a lot of the students will move on and move into jobs as well. Some of the student positions we have within University Technology Solutions. That's the whole idea, is to help them as well as step into those particular positions. But also the ambassador program has a tiered level. So it's something you can come in, you don't necessarily stay for one semester, you can stay for 2 semesters, 3 semesters, however you choose to, and work on different projects. The neat thing is getting a chance to test some of the technology that we have. So for all the students in the university, there's a lot of opportunity there. So as a freshman, yes, you're just as qualified. You go out, you put your stuff in Handshake, and then it will open you up to other opportunities.
Thank you. And so I think this question might be really good for Erika. It says, what if my class schedule does not have room for an internship, but I still want to gain the experience?
Absolutely. That's a great question. We get that a lot of our students, they work, they go to school, they have other responsibilities, and it's like, but I need to get this experience from my resume. There are so many things that you can do that does not have the title internship, right? There's externships. So there are day events that happen with different companies. Ms. Vanessa was just talking about their experiences that they have that isn't quite titled an internship, but it's like a career path plan. So my advice to you would definitely be, just because it does not have internship in the title does not mean that it's not an experience, hence experiential learning. So anything that you are doing and you're using what you gain in the classroom and you are applying it outside of the classroom, whether it's going to a workshop, a session, and you're reflecting on it and you're gaining that knowledge, you can take all of that, just like Vanessa was saying, whether you worked at Whataburger, there are people on campus, i.e. Career Center, i.e. if you're College of Business, Center for Student Professional Development, the university has a wonderful tool now called VMOC, where we can help you craft your resume to take what all of the experiences that you've done, and we can help you write it in such a way to where it can get you in the door somewhere, right? And ultimately, that piece of paper, and here I go on my soapbox again because I'm just so passionate about it. That piece of paper with all of your accomplishments, your resume, that's really going to help sell you to get you in the door. That's the first step, right? And Vanessa, I'm sure she can tell you about that too, just with the interviewing process. So I said all that to say, take all of your experiences, everything that you've done, and be able to meet with someone to help you really craft it in a way to where it could be presented.
Thank you. And I see our co-host Rachel put in the chat some resources that students can use at the Career Center. I strongly advise everyone on this call to go to our website and take a look at those resources, but also get on the handshake and meet with one of our counselors. You can set up an appointment and they can help you with the application process, getting your resume reviewed, and also with interview prep. So it looks like our next question is going to be for Tony. Italia wants to know, you said that the application process for your internship was fairly quickly, but she's curious to know if you had to do an interview, and if so, how did it go?
So for this particular internship, I did not have to do an interview. So I'd say the application process was quite simple. I just submitted my resume, and from there I got an offer, fortunately. So can't really give you too much advice on that.
No worries. And then we have another question coming in that says, should we include volunteer activities on our resume? So Eric and Vanessa, either of you can take this question or you both can answer it.
Go ahead, Vanessa. Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
I'll start off and yes, yes, and yes. I cannot tell you how important volunteer, any type of things that you're doing with volunteer. I mean, oh my goodness gracious, it shows so much. It says so much too about you as an individual, because there's been people that we've hired and we've looked at and said, gee whiz, Sam did this, that, and this. He's double majored, and he's also been active in these particular things. It shows very good time management skills, as well as your desire to do more than what's just about what's in it for me. So that's the important part about that. People are always looking for folks that are looking at outside of just what's in it for me. They're out doing work in the community, plus you're gaining experience. So definitely make sure to not forget that stuff. Erika?
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I dropped in the chat. Yes, I started to put it in all caps. I was like, no, I'm not going to put all caps, but yes, you want to put all of your volunteerism on your resume.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I know sorry, my cat just tried to jump. Sorry, she just tried to make an entrance. But yeah, I remember one of the employers in our previous sessions had talked about how even if you did something in high school that you don't think is necessarily relevant, but because of how long ago you did it, you should still put it on your resume because obviously it was something that you have done in the past. And if it can definitely help you with the next opportunity you're trying to pursue, then by all means, put it on there. But if anyone has any more questions, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can continue to ask questions in the chat box. Um, but I don't see any as of right now. I don't know if Rachel, if you would like to add anything.
This was a great session. I feel like we heard so many different perspectives. I loved hearing the student perspective, the supervisor perspective, and then also the internship coordinator and support from the university perspective as well. So I appreciate all of your time today. Feel free to hang out. This can be the casual portion of the session. I'm going to end the recording, but we encourage you to stick around. Maybe turn on your cameras, and this is your chance to ask Tony, Vanessa, and Erica some more individualized questions that you have.